Hi friends, welcome to another new lecture of Era of Zoology. In this lecture, I am going to talk about allopatric speciation. So, before starting this lecture, I want to say subscribe this channel so that you will get the upcoming lectures notification. Okay friend, so let's talk about the definition of allopatric speciation. Allopatric speciation is the divergence of physically separate populations of a species occupying separate geographical areas into new species. This is also called speciation by geographical isolation because in this case many geographical barriers contribute important role to separate. Okay friend, so basically let's talk about the method of allopatric speciation. I mean to say physical isolation. Why physical isolation? Because in this case so many geographical barriers are involved. So at first we will talk about visariance. So by physical splitting of large habitat with a widespread population by some new physical barrier into two or more large isolated areas. And second is actually founder effect by divergence of a few members of a widely distributed population to some new habitat. Now we will talk about how actually visariance actually play important role in allopatric speciation. I mean to say allopatric speciation by visariance. So basically volcanoes, earthquake, storm, tidal wave, glaciers, flood and formation or destruction of mountains and forests and appearance and disappearance of water bodies act as visariance for speciation in terrestrial population. Okay, and basically the geographically separated populations are exposed to variable forces of natural selection, genetic drift, mutation, random mating that cause their gene pools to diverge. Their gene pools become so different that the free gene flow between isolated population is totally prevented and reproductively isolation is established. I mean to say reproductive isolation because in between those species the geographical barrier is present, so they are actually getting prevented. Okay friend, so basically finally this reproductively isolated population become independent species. In case the geographical barrier is lifted, the members of this species meet but do not interbreed. Okay, so Alloman in 1992 divided the process of allopatric speciation into following stages. Three stages are present. The first stage is actually fragmentation of widespread population due to geographical barriers and separation of its gene pool. So here you can see that this is actually schematic diagram. Here actually some lizards and this is actually a river that is flowing. So a geographical a continuous population of lizard being isolated into two population due to the change of course of river. So actually you can see that this river is going to this direction, but in the next picture you can see that this river actually changed the course of its flow and this river actually isolated, this river is actually isolated these lizards from each other. You can see that this river is actually flowing in between them, so they are actually getting prevented to mate with each other, right friend? So persistence of isolation of population and their gene pools so that their gene pools is becomes different from parental population. So on being separated by river, the gene pool of two population being to diverge due to mutation, selection and genetic drift. And now establishment of reproductive isolation between new population and formation of a new species. So in this picture you can see that the river actually change its direction of flow and this river flow is flowing in between them, and suppose a new gene pool enter in their gene pool, and suppose a new allele or a new gene enter in their gene pool, so they will totally be different in case of reproductively So establishment of reproductive isolation, that means they are actually totally getting different from each other in respect of reproduction. Okay friend, and now we will take an example of allopatric speciation by Visarians. So about 150 Maya, the flightless bird enjoyed a continuous distribution on the supercontinent of Gondwana. Continental drift lead to the separation of supercontinent into present-day continents and islands. About 20 Maya, the flightless bird population diverged by Visarians events and evolved into present-day genera and species. This is the picture that you can see friend. So this is actually the origin of flightless bird, and then they are getting distributed in different you can say Iceland, and due to the separation due to the distribution of different Iceland, and they are getting actually prevented from for actually they are getting prevented in case of reproduction from each other due to the presence of geographical barriers. So they are getting actually reproductively isolated from each other. You can see that these all are the actually flightless bird, but they all are actually different in respect of reproductive isolation, I mean to say reproduction. So now we will talk about how actually founder effect play an important role in case of allopatric speciation. So Grant 1986 explained speciation in isolated population of Darwin finches by founder effect on Galapagos Island. He presumed that only a very few individual colonies, a new locality, and multiply to form an isolated founder population. For example, a South American ground finch, Geospiza magnirostris, formed from the mainland of South America, colonized Galapagos Island. These islands were separated from the mainland by vast stretch of ocean. So here ocean is actually the geographical barrier which acted as geographical barrier. So geographical barrier. The population on different islands evolved independently of the parental population, and each become reproductively isolated to form new species. Okay friend, so this is actually the picture you can see. So thank you so much for watching today's lecture. I hope this note-wise lecture will help you in this topic. Thank you so much. Subscribe this channel and also like this lecture. Thank you so much.